So good morning and welcome to all you lovely, high-vibing, vibrating women out there who have decided to join us this beautiful Sunday and learn a little bit more about what is possible to make your 2022 a little bit more easier, more enjoyable. And I can't make lots and lots of promises, but I can only talk about my own personal experience about what I discovered in 2021. So going back with a little bit of a story, I'm Taryn Claire from TarynClaireLanou.com. And my original story is that I started Women Raising Vibration after my diagnosis with cancer. And then I started documenting all the different ways and people that I met along the way who really helped me raise my vibration, because as you can imagine, after chemo, it feels like someone's just blown your candlelight out and you're sitting there and you're feeling quite exhausted, and it's really hard to concentrate and do things that you used to usually do. And ever since I've made my journey more public online, if I put something out on the computer, on Facebook, I immediately get a host of people who send me their solutions to my problems. And I am that kind of personality where I like to know things for myself and discover them for myself. And I don't like to be told what to do. And so I would reject a lot of these comments in my inbox or personal messages that people would send me. And so last year when I hurt my foot, I got another, sort of tidal wave of people offering me these amazing solutions. And I just, started my usual bit like, back off. I know what I'm doing. You don't tell me what to do. And Rhonda sort of came back and she just sort of touched on a few little aspects which reminded me of my journey, which started in my 20s when I had what I didn't understand then was cytomegalovirus. And this virus actually then triggered autoimmune in me, which was fibromyalgia. And for people who've had fibromyalgia, I think we've got someone online here today who suffers with it as well, is that it's kind of like you never seem to be able to get on top of it. And no matter what I was doing. And that really began my journey with understanding that not everything that I was taking was actually great. But then I got to understand there was a magic ratio of taking the right dose at the right time. And that's when things really started to improve. So when Rhonda sent me a message, and I said back off, and she touched on some of these things which were, I guess, some of my trigger points about fibromyalgia. My ears pricked up and I really listened. And what I might say behind that is that this wasn't a cold message. Back in 2009, I went to a function in Townsville where this amazing lady basically got the Mind Foundation up to Townsville. And I sat in an auditorium with mainstream people like occupational therapists and physiotherapists. I had my beloved next to me, who's a doctor, and I was sitting next to another integrative doctor in Townsville who's since left. And Rhonda brought the concept to Townsville in a way that made an impact that our gut is indeed our second brain. And Rhonda did it in such a way that she made an impact that medical professionals out there who were close to that idea beforehand actually were open and responsive to what was coming in. And certainly my beloved sat and listened, especially because she was talking with reference to Asperger's and autism. So it was really quite an amazing experience. And so from that was that know, like, and trust factor that was really building for me. And so when Rhonda came back in and sort of mentioned a few things, I thought, well, actually, I'm going to listen to Rhonda for a brief moment. And my first rebuttal was, no, Rhonda, I'm not going to use that because I just want to go into a shop and I just want to buy it. And Rhonda, for the first time, actually, out of all the people that had sort of told me about this product beforehand, Rhonda was the very first person who said, that's no problem. Of course, you can go online and just buy it as a customer. And so for 5 years, when people have been sending me messages, not a single one of these people had ever offered me that as an option. So I had my backup that they were just wanting to sell to me as opposed to serve me from the heart. And, I'm a real heart-based person, and I'm really passionate about looking after myself and also about the women that I serve. And I've got a lot of ladies out there with who've had breast cancer diagnoses. So I'm really, 2 feet in. So with that kind of like late, long introduction, which is I'm going to introduce you to Rhonda, who will just give you a little bit of information on her background and how she came to the space and place. And then I will leave it to Rhonda to actually introduce the gorgeous Madeline, who is South African. So, of course, you're all going to absolutely love her as well, because what South African, have you met that you didn't like? So we will leave that with you, Rhonda.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I too, my husband and I, we've been best friends since we were 11 years old, and married for over 20 years, and he he often says to me, oh, why don't you just do as you're told? And I said, well, look, I'm more than open to listening. I will listen to everything, but yeah, I don't always do as I'm told, as you know. You should know that by now. We've known each other since we're 11, so I can totally resonate with that. And I too, I love your passion. I love your heart, and hearing you speak, it almost brings me to tears every time I hear you speak, because I think, when you have that firsthand experience, there's nothing anyone could ever say or do that would shock you, because you've been there. And I can relate to that myself. And that's why I brought the Mind Foundation to Townsville, because we were living there. So we have 4 children. And our 2 youngest children were born in Townsville. We were there for, I think, 14 years. My husband was in the military 14, 15 years. And yeah, so long story cut short, mother of 4. I was in corporate for many years, accounting, marketing, that kind of stuff, office management. And then the children came along. And so then I started working from home. We were had acreage just south of Townsville at Mount Elliott. We were backed onto the national park. It was absolutely beautiful, north facing, just looking at the mountains. We loved it. And it was a really nice place to raise the children. And so the 4th child came along, and I was working from home as a small business coach, helping husband and wives get their businesses up off the ground, and teaching them accounting, and I really loved it. It gave me that flexibility, that time freedom, so I could say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not available, I'm working in tuck shop, or I've got the sports carnival, or whatever it might be. And then the 4th child came along and threw a real spanner in the works, and I say this with love, but he was the problem child. He's now 16, he's almost 6'2", he's absolutely gorgeous. He spitting image of his father. He's absolutely stunning. But he threw a real spanner in the works. Every little thing going around he would catch. So his immune system never really developed. And at 20 months, all of his milestones that he'd gained started to drop off. So at 8 months, he was up and running. Like his 2 big brothers, have a chat like his big sister. But at 20 months, he started to lose his speech and language, his fine motor skills. He was having breathing problems, skin problems. His bowels stopped working. We were lucky if he opened his bowels once every 7 to 10 days. And we were going from pediatrician, GP, pediatrician, gastroenterologist, dermatologist, and it was always just a script. And that then progressed even further regression once we moved from Townsville to Sydney on a 2-year contract for my husband's work. And he's a fitter and turner mechanical engineer. So we moved to Sydney for his work. And as I was unpacking and getting the kids ready for school, etc., I noticed that all of his speech had virtually disappeared, and he started getting frustrated, bashing his head with his fist. That then progressed to sitting in the corner, bashing his head on the ground. We couldn't get outside the front door to walk the children to school because we were really close proximity, could walk without him having a meltdown. And again, started the GP, pediatrician, etc. And every single time I walked out with a script, or them telling me to calm down, perhaps you should do a parenting course, Rhonda, here's some antidepressants because, I really think you're just overreacting. And I don't know about you ladies here, and if we have any gentlemen on the call, but I always say, don't doubt the mama. When there's something not quite right, we know something deep down. And I'm really fortunate that I have a tribe of girlfriends. I'm a typical country girl. I call a spade a spade. But they kept saying to me, Rhonda, you know there's something not quite right, keep pushing. So by that stage, my husband called, my Google diploma, because I was researching until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning trying to work out what was going on. And by that stage, I had my cranky pants on and cranky face on, and I walked into a developmental childhood clinic in Chatswood, a suburb of Sydney, with my gorgeous baby boy, curly blonde hair, biggest brown eyes, and said, I'm not leaving here until someone takes me seriously. I want a full diagnostic criteria because there's seriously something going on here. And again, they said, oh, calm down, Mrs. Muller. And I said, I'm not calming down until someone takes me seriously. So 9 months later, we finally received a diagnosis, May 2008, severely autistic. He was level 3. And by that stage, he was having seizures. We couldn't brush his teeth, brush his hair, certain fabrics. If I was wearing buttons, he wouldn't come anywhere near me. It was, all hell breaking loose. It was full on. And it's like I just had blinkers on. The 3 other kids were just, we were all in survival mode. Very fortunate that my husband and I have been, best friends since we were 11. Otherwise, I think I would have drop kicked him out the door because stress was up here. Okay. Put a number 1 in the chat if you can totally relate to what I'm saying. The stress levels, when you feel that people just, you can't resonate with them. They just don't understand where you're coming from. So for me, when I got that diagnosis, I was jumping for joy because then I knew I was not the loopy one. Yes, I could get the support that I needed for my son. And I was putting it out to the universe, someone please just steer me in the right direction. And someone put a flyer in my son's pigeonhole, and that steered me towards nutrient therapy. We're looking at epigenetics, in regards to your genetic profile that's passed down through the generations and our environment that can alter our genetic profile. We were talking about dietary theories, etc. We were talking all different types of therapy at this conference, and it was the Mind Foundation in Sydney. And I'm sitting there for this two-day conference with doctors and psychiatrists and parents in tears because they'd never heard of this before. And I thought, oh my goodness, seriously, if I was really struggling, there must be so many other people out there that are struggling. And I just thought, I need to learn this. I need to study this. And that's why I became a nutritional therapist. Years and years of studying since 2008, 2009. We moved back to Townsville, and we entered our son into a full-time early intervention centre where they were doing full-time speech therapy, occupational therapy, etc. 6 hours a day for 5 days a week for 2 years straight. It cost us an absolute bomb. It was $175 a day. The funding that we received back then was gone within 6 months. But it was hard, but was it worth it? Absolutely. We walked in there severely, not, autistic, nonverbal, the whole thing. We were the loopy ones using food as medicine. We were doing nutritional therapy, meaning supplementation, vitamins and minerals, essential fatty acids, bacterial, we were doing everything that I was learning. My son was truly the guinea pig. And we were getting amazing results, but everyone was scoffing us, saying, well, just like the health professionals, it's a lot of time and effort. There's no real studies. I wouldn't bother. And again, like Taryn was saying, I don't often do as I'm told. I always listen, but I don't always do as I'm told. And I'm so grateful that I didn't. I stood there with my hands on my hips and I said, you just watch me. I'm going to change this. There's no way in the world that I'm going to leave my baby boy, the responsibility to my 3 older children. Once I'm gone, if I've got a child that's non-responsive and cannot cope in society, there's no way in the world that I'm just going to put my head in the sand and say, okay, well, that's it. I had to find a way. I had to find a solution. And we were getting astounding results. I'm not here to talk about cures or, reversing anything, mitigating anything, but it is amazing what the body can do when you give it the tools and strategies that it needs to perform and function. So we went through that centre in Townsville, And we walked out there 100% prep ready. He was verbal again. He had his fine motor skills. Like those therapists that at that center looked like absolute bloody legends, seriously, because he was able to sit still, focus, concentrate, and retain all those tools and strategies that they were teaching him, that we were paying for. Yeah, he was able to pick up the ball and run. So we packed up and moved to Mackay, and that's where I opened up a clinic, and I filled it with therapists, speech therapists, occupational therapists. I had a health food store. We were doing cooking workshops, you name it. We were doing herbs and a whole host of stuff. Fast forward to 2016, two significant things happened. My son's official diagnosis was removed by a pediatrician, not because we cured him, but because he no longer fit into the criteria. All right. He was reaching all of his milestones. He had his social skills back. He was doing everything academically fine, brilliant. He's like a straight A student now, and is supreme athlete. But the thing was that he was still quirky. Right. He still needed some therapies in regards to neurofeedback. We were doing social skills training, all those types of things, still adding on as we do. The other thing that happened was that I crashed. I totally burnt out for a second time, to the point where I could not get into the clinic. I had to work from the comfort of my own bed. My energy levels were just crashing, even though I knew what I needed to eat. I was taking vitamins and minerals and herbs. I have a wealth of friends who are naturopaths, integrative GPs, and they were doing everything that they could, just like Taryn was saying, that synergistic blend, etc. But it just was not quite enough. Any kind of stress or any kind of endurance exercise, etc., that I would, because like I just walked 6Ks yesterday. There's no way in the world I would have been able to do that back in 2016 because my energy just kept crashing. Yeah. So yeah, I sold off the clinic. I kept the nutritional therapy for myself, and we moved to the Sunshine Coast, and we were there for 5 years. And that's where I met Madeline Crowe. This lady is an occupational therapist, and she too has worked with pediatrics. Her passion is pain management. She works a lot in regards to workers' compensation plans, and she also works in regards to athletes, because her husband Rick is an amazing man. I don't know what it is with our men, but we're us women, we're attracted to men who are overachievers. And her husband is no different. And she reached out to me, and because I'm really passionate, I classify myself as a professional networker. I always reach out to people who are, that I can learn from, but also who have the same values as me: holistic, natural, but science-based. People who can support my community. And Madeline reached out to me and asked me to actually go to this info session on the Sunshine Coast with a cardiologist talking. And I was so excited. I really wanted to hear this gentleman because, again, holistic, natural, but heavily science-based. But I couldn't because my children were coming to visit, and it was already a done deal. I couldn't get out of it. And not that I really wanted to, because I love my babies. So, yeah, I had to miss that. And then she followed up and she said, oh, my goodness, that event was amazing. Do you have time to jump on a Zoom call and we can talk about it? And I went, Zoom? Oh, Zoom. I don't know how to use Zoom. Yes, absolutely. Madeline, you can teach me all about Zoom. So I jumped onto that call, and then she started to talk to me about, give me the download of what this cardiologist was talking about. And we were talking about, nutrigenomics and epigenetics and reducing oxidative stress and mitochondria and the gut health. And it's like, you're talking my language. I've been studying this since 2009. And then she started talking about this product, and immediately I Googled it and I went, what are you talking about? This is actually network marketing. This product is why are you involved in a network marketing product? And she said, I totally get it. I was exactly the same, but there's over 30 independent studies on this product. I think 26 or 28 are now on PubMed, and that's where we go for, our medical library. It's the National Institute of Health. And we've got cardiologists and pediatricians using and recommending this product. And I went, what? There's peer-reviewed studies and there's a pediatrician? using and recommending? And she said, absolutely. If I could get you on a call with this pediatrician, would you be open to taking a look? Long story cut short, that's exactly where we started. So sorry, I keep rambling because I get so excited about natural health, and especially when we've got, you know, relatively mainstream practitioners who are open to looking at natural substances to help us with getting our body back and working as nature intended. So Madeline, I'll pass over to you just quickly, if you can just give a quick intro on yourself. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. And oh my goodness, it's so great to be here, because I remember the first time I heard about the information that Rhonda just discussed, the science of the activators. I thought, oh my goodness, why hasn't anyone told me about this science before? So I'm really looking forward to sharing that information with you ladies today. But a little bit about myself, like Rhonda said, I'm an occupational therapist. We came from South Africa to Australia about 8 years ago. But my health journey started long before that. When I was in year 10, we cycled from South Africa to Malawi. I absolutely love adventure, and I was really excited to go on the trip, but I came back with a virus, and life was not the same for me again. I didn't even finish my end year exam. I was really sick. I went from doctor to doctor to doctor. And by the time I got to the 7th doctor, they told me to go to a psychologist. And I knew there wasn't something wrong with my mind. I just knew that things were not the same for me. And then in my year 12 year, that was extremely difficult for me. And eventually I decided at the end of year 12 that I'm going to go overseas. I'm going to be an au pair in the States, because I knew if I had to go to uni, I would fail, because I was done. I was so tired, lots of aches and pains. And I came back from the States and I studied psychology for a year, and then I transitioned to occupational therapy. And with lifestyle factors, I have been able to recover my health to an extent. I started to exercise, and I was eating really healthy all along from being a really young child. I used to eat capsicums like apples. So I was really into healthy eating. But then when I studied occupational therapy and life got really busy and stressful, and I got married and I had 4 kids in 6 years, things started to fall apart again. And regardless the fact that we were eating healthy, exercising, like Rhonda said, my husband is a triathlete, we were doing a lot of things right. I couldn't figure out what is the missing piece of the puzzle. And then we came to Australia, and Taryn, you can probably relate to that. Moving to another country, it's hard. You need to start all over and you need to reinvent your life. And I am a go, go, go person. And then one day I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was talking to me about the activators and the science of epigenetics. And I have never heard of epigenetics, the word. But when she started to explain what epigenetics is, I understood that that's what I've been doing all along. It's exercising, and it's eating the right foods, and it's thinking happy thoughts. But sometimes life is difficult, and sometimes you have a lot of stress, and you just can't do as much as you want to do. So when she started to talk to me about the science of epigenetics, I thought, I rolled my eyes like a couple of times, because I knew I've been doing so many things right. And I never could get to that point where I found the missing piece of the puzzle. And it was really when I understood the importance of upregulating your good genes that things completely turned around for me. So I'm really excited to be here today and share a little bit about that experience with you ladies. So Taryn, I'm going to hand back to you.
You just muted, Dylan.
Good idea. So we're sitting here and you're probably wondering exactly what we're talking about. But these 2 little things that I discovered, I actually think I heard about it on the Oprah Winfrey show at some stage. And I Googled it. This is way back before my diagnosis. and I couldn't get it in Australia. And so I'd completely and utterly forgotten about following it up, because I thought, oh, this is just impossible to get hold of. How do I get access to it? But the product itself is called NRF1 and NRF2. Now, Madeline and Rhonda, what is NRF and what does it stand for? And what's inside of it and what makes it magical? Just start with Rhonda.
Yeah, sure. So NRF pretty much stands for nuclear respiratory factor. And NRF2 is predominantly responsible for reactivating our endogenous antioxidant system. So I think everyone's heard of antioxidants, for example, red wine, blueberries, oranges, things like that, vitamin C. These are all beautiful antioxidant molecules that we get from food. That's exogenous, external antioxidants. But we all mammals, I'm not sure if you can see my little fur baby sleeping right beside me, but all mammals have this internal pathway where we make our own antioxidants. And in our mid-20s, that actually starts to switch off. It's the natural aging process. It's a bit like an aging floor. And so when we start to switch that off, we start to reduce our internal antioxidants, for example, like glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and catalase. And they are super, super vital in regards to our immune, our, just in regards to fighting things off, being any kind of inflammation, for example. So for example, when I'm in my 50s and if my grandson, a 2-year-old, falls over, he's going to have a bit of a whinge, but he's going to get back up and run around again. If I fall over, well, then it's probably going to take me a bit longer to heal. Yes. So that's that internal antioxidant system coming to the rescue, kicking in, because we've got all these beautiful antioxidant systems. That's the NRF2. Madeline, do you want to touch on the NRF1?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NRF2 helps you to reduce your oxidative stress, which is as a result of environmental factors and even you just breathing. But then also your mitochondria in your cells need an extra boost to keep functioning the way it did when you were a child. So if you can remember high school biology, the mitochondria, it's like a squiggly organelle in your cell. But unlike those pictures that we saw in the biology handbooks, you don't have 1 or 2 per cell, you've got thousands. And essentially the mitochondria are the batteries of your cells and it powers the cell. So you need a lot of mitochondria. Unfortunately, with the aging process, our mitochondria decline in function. So those that we have don't work that well anymore, and also in numbers. So you don't have that many anymore. So you may hear a lot of people say, when I age, I feel less energetic, but it's not only the energy that you have in the morning when you open your eyes, it's also the inherent energy of that cell to do its job. So let's say we think about a heart cell or a liver cell or a brain cell. If you only have half the amount of mitochondria in those cells, you have a problem. So with the NRF1, we are going to boost your mitochondrial production. So we're going to give you more mitochondria, and the mitochondria that you have, we're going to power those mitochondria. And also, if you think about the genes, Rhonda mentioned switching on good genes. The cells that you have now are not the cells that you were born with, because your cells replicate. But essentially, your DNA sits in your genes. And if you make a copy from a copy, from a copy, from a copy, from a copy, by the time you are 30, 40, 60, 80 years old, you have a bad copy. So what the NRF1 and NRF2 does is it really helps you to reactivate those genes so that you can have a good copy in your cells, because your genes are so very important to dictate everything that is happening in your cells.
Perfect. And I was just going to add to that. So for those who aren't familiar with oxidative stress, which is what the NRF2 helps to counteract, it is like cellular rusting. If we cut an apple in half and leave it on the kitchen bench, you see it to go brown. That's oxidizing. That is happening to us from the very first breath that we're taking from birth, suckling from the breast. That will create free radical damage on a cellular level, which is pretty much oxidative stress, oxidative damage. So if you Google oxidative stress and put in any particular ailment, condition, disease, you will see that it's pretty much linked. We all have excessive amounts of oxidative stress. And what I see in clinic, especially in regards to pediatric special needs, babies are now born with elevated levels of oxidative stress to the point where they're virtually being born with the level of a 50 or 60-year-old. That's not good, right? This is what we need to address. Each generation is becoming weaker and weaker. The other thing that I wanted to mention as well is that with this craziness going on in the world right now, and we know I'm obviously I'm wanting to be compliant, so I'm not going to say what it is. But the thing that's happening in the world today, and you turn on the TV and that's all you hear about, that is actually creating additional free radical oxidative stress just from the stress, the fear mongering, all of that kind of stuff. But also any kind of illness will create excessive amounts of oxidative stress, but it also damages that particular thing that's happening. It damages our mitochondria. So NRF2 helps us to counteract the excessive amounts of oxidative stress. It can reduce oxidative stress by 40% in the first 30 days. That's outstanding. I can't achieve those results using food or supplementation. For years and years and years, I'll see if I can grab it. For years, I was using sulforaphane in clinic. It's a broccoli sprout. And this is what I was always being taught to use, sulforaphane. These products that we're talking about, the NRF2 activator, is 7 times more effective than sulforaphane. When I heard about that through that pediatrician that Madeline introduced me to, that's when I got cranky. Why had I not heard about this product before? Why wasn't I being educated? And like Taryn, I also heard about this product years and years ago on a documentary. And I thought, take a note of that. I have to look into that. And again, went into the memory banks and totally moved on, forgot about it. Too busy. Life gets busy. So yeah, I just wanted to say, it's really important that we're reducing the oxidative stress but doing it naturally, holistically. And we can do that. And also get the mitochondria, the dysfunctional mitochondria. We, as women, we pass that dysfunctional mitochondria down to our babies. So I have 3 sons and 1 daughter. My sons won't pass that on, but my daughter will. So it's vital that I make sure that her antioxidant system is working properly, and also her mitochondria is repairing and regenerating itself. Yeah. And if the mitochondria is dysfunctional, then it's also not going to create melatonin. And we all know the importance of melatonin, especially with what's going on at the moment as well. So I'll stop talking because I get too excited.
I'm getting excited. I'm going to jump in because with you picking up the sulforaphane, it reminded me of, what happens, after you've had a cancer diagnosis. We're going, we need to eat broccoli because it's high and whatever. But then you start going down the rabbit hole and then you figure out, well, actually, it's not broccoli, it's broccoli sprouts. And it's not just broccoli sprouts. Then you've got to eat them on day 3 or 4 to get the highest amount of sulforaphane. And so, I went off and, found it then in a capsule, which I took. But after I finished chemo, one of the things that I did do was I did a course of IV glutathione. And that was to help detox from the chemo process and also to start stimulating my immune system. So this stuff, and that's what probably, caught me and my ears pricked up, was you said something about this product actually helps the body produce or stimulate its own ability to produce glutathione. Is that correct?
Absolutely. There's studies that show that NRF2 activator helps us to make our own antioxidants. Again, in particular, glutathione is increased by 300% the first 120 days. And when I saw that, I thought, holy dooly, because yes, working with athletes, they also, IV, look, I love IV supplementation and nutrient therapy because sometimes we really need it. And especially, for example, for yourself, I would say straight after treatment, I would say definitely have the IV, but start the NRF2 activation as well, because that is supplementation. That the glutathione IV that you were using was absolutely vital, but that's just one antioxidant molecule will only counteract one free radical molecule. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio. When we make it ourselves, we're wiping out 1 million free radicals at a time. That is so powerful. And that's why babies and children, with whatever's going on in the world today, they're fine. There's no concern. Do you know what I mean? So as long as the innate immune system is working properly and our antioxidant system is working properly, our glutathione is pumping, our mitochondria is healthy and replicating healthy, vibrant mitochondria. Yeah.
So what is the difference between, like you said, there's a difference between a supplement and a difference between this. This isn't actually called a supplement.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's actually activation. Madeline, I might pass over to you. Do you want to just touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at supplements, you are literally looking at addressing a deficit. Like you are taking more zinc, iron, magnesium, vitamin B. But when you are looking at activation, you are activating your body to do what it's supposed to do. You are activating your body to switch on the good genes. Everything in your body is all about homeostasis. It's all about balance. When you go outside and it's really cold, you're going to shiver. That's going to raise your kinetic energy, and you're going to create warmth, and you're going to feel warm. When you go outside and it's really hot, you're going to sweat. That radiator of you working is going to cool down your body. That exact same thing is happening in all of your cells every single second of the day. And when you think about that, it's so important that we maintain the homeostasis in our body. And like Rhonda mentioned, as a baby, all of those systems worked perfectly well. But unfortunately, with the aging process and environmental factors like insecticides, pesticides, lots of stress, GMO foods, so many things that can go wrong, toxic products, all of those impact on our body. So all of this is based in the space of activation. So it's not supplementation, it's science really supporting your body to switch on those internal defense mechanisms. So this is not going to necessarily address the vitamin B deficit that you may have, because vitamin B is something completely different. But what we see in a lot of clients is when your body is working optimally, your body is going to absorb all of those nutrients really, really well. And Rhonda, I know that you see it in clinic with a lot of people where they have nutrient deficiencies when they start out, and eventually when your body is working optimally, then all of those levels even out.
Absolutely. And what it's like, it sounds too good to be true initially when I was hearing all of this, but when I saw it myself in clinic, I was just like, wow. And especially in regards to gut health, because that was something that I was really passionate on working on with my son. And we would do a comprehensive digestive stool analysis for my son every 12 months. And we did one when we first moved to the Sunshine Coast with one of my girlfriends. She's an integrative GP, and it came back, because I could do it myself, but I also wanted her to see his progress. And it came back like it was around about 68-70%, absorbing. He was doing really well compared to what he was when, he was, he was not coping in the world at all. And so that was 12 months prior to activation. And we started activation in 2019. And 2019, 2.5 years after we moved to the Sunshine Coast. And so we started in 2019. We did the stool analysis just before Christmas. And then we did another one after being on the activators for 12 months. Now, full disclosure, I was really concerned because he, you know, typical teenage boy. He, like I said, he's exactly like his father. He, you know, rugby league is like religion in our family. My husband played for Australia in the military, union. Like, we don't talk much about Stephen because his head's big enough, you know, can't even fit all the trophies in the house. It's that bad. And so what we noticed was that his digestive stool analysis came back perfect. But we were gobsmacked because he was eating all of this rubbish. Like, yes, he was still on a strict gluten-free, casein-free diet because he's, you know, celiac but sugar, more processed foods, like he was eating, you know, chips, hot chips from Macca's and just, you know, hash browns and lots of rubbish. And I was expecting the gut results to come back worse, but it wasn't. And his zinc levels and all of these other things had actually increased. So what I put that down, and studies show that when you actually start that NRF2 activation, then the gut lining, the cells in the gut can actually calm the farm. There's the inflammation. Instead of having a little pilot light, most of us have a flamethrower for inflammation. That flamethrower comes back down. So then the gut can start to heal itself. The gut will never heal if you've got excessive amounts of oxidative stress, because that's damaging, it's creating inflammation, but it's also damaging the mitochondria. And when the mitochondria is damaged, it's going to create far less ATP energy and way more free radicals. So it's that real vicious cycle. Does that make sense? Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, that's what I found was the absorption. And also with those survival genes, we have over 400 survival genes. Some of them are overexpressed, like blood pressure or whatever it might be, and some are underexpressed. So it takes time for all of that to rebalance. And that's why we say we need 1 bottle of the NRF2 activator per decade that we've been on the planet before it starts to retune like a piano. Yeah, so it starts to work again as nature intended. And as soon as you stop the NRF2 activator, within 2 weeks, those survival genes will start to go out of whack again, because of our environment is way toxic, like 5G coming and all of these things, you know, what they're spraying in the air and the, you know, the water quality, all those things like Madeline was saying.
Rhonda, in terms of, you know, I know you said, you know, like I'm 46, so that would have meant that maybe 4.5 months down the track, I would be able to get that balance. But from my experience, I was only on it for about 3 weeks. And what I got to really figure out was that it kind of, what I've been chasing since chemo, I sort of went and saw, you know, a neurologist and psychiatrist and psychologist saying, I think I've got a traumatic brain injury. And they're all like, no, you're perfectly fine. I'm like, no, I feel like I'm slow. I'm not getting things as fast. It's so frustrating because I wouldn't be friends with me because I'm just so slow in terms of thinking and processing. And within 3 weeks of using that, one of the things that I just blew me away was that I started to see, I had the less brain fog and started to see more patterns and relationships between things that I had lost. So, you know, it didn't come up on like an MRI, but being this person in this body, what I was experiencing was very frustrating because I had the comparative experience, the difference between who I was and how I am now. So, I mean, 3 weeks for me made a difference, but I'm still, you know, looking forward to reaching the 4.5 months and getting what you're talking about.
Yeah, and obviously everyone is different. So for me, I personally noticed within 3 days that I had my energy back. That was, I said to Madeline, is this normal? And she said, no, it's not normal. Don't get too excited. Not everyone's like that. But for me also, I used to be, you know, like that, you know, leg warmer girl, high impact aerobics, and used to play a lot of netball and touch football. And I had a really bad knee injury where I needed surgery. And after that surgery, it was like bone on bone. It would just grind. I couldn't, and this is in my, you know, late 20s, early 30s. I'd need to hold on to the handrail to walk upstairs and things like that after that knee injury. And I noticed myself, I was 6 months in, and even though I'm in tune with my body, unless you're writing things down, you know, you sort of forget. But I found myself, I was at football in Brisbane. One of my girlfriends, her son plays for Queensland. And I had my father-in-law there, and he says, "Oh, it must be time for a cuppa, Dal, hey." And so I raced down to get him his cappuccino, knowing full well it was about to be kickoff. And I got his cappuccino, and then the siren went for kickoff, and I found myself running up the flight of stairs. And I stopped halfway, and I went, "Holy dooly, I haven't been able to do this for 30 years. Like, wow, you know." So all of these things will be continuing to work whether we feel it or not. The science is there on that cellular level, that you know, that anti-rusting, that detoxification process is really going to kick in. Oh, you just muted, Dalla.
Another question, Rhonda, is, you know, when I had initially said to you, what are the ingredients? Because I am an ingredient reader, and then I'm an ingredient researcher. And I sort of said, well, how come, like, with one of these bottles, I'm actually taking all those ingredients. Why should I take it all in one bottle and not take it like that? And why does this one bottle work better than those 5 bottles that I've got sitting on my counter? And you explained a few things to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was exactly my question as well. I said, well, I'm already taking these herbs, you know, turmeric, ashwagandha, green tea, milk thistle, and bacopa. I was already taking all of those because of my adrenal fatigue, you know, that crashing all the time, any kind of stress or energy burst, couldn't get out of bed. So I wasn't getting the results. As soon as I'd have that stress, I'd go back down. The synergistic blend of that NRF2 activator, it's the tiniest amounts. For example, the green tea, I was concerned about the caffeine content. There's less caffeine in that than a cup of decaffeinated coffee. But it's that synergistic blend. I believe it took them over 40 years to perfect that blend. That makes it so potent, for want of a better word. It's 18 times more effective than those individual ingredients if you were taking them all together. And that's why there's 7 patents on this product. It's absolutely amazing. You know, Washington State University and cardiology, they've all written about this product. It's the only product that you can go in and find the actual product name and research it and find the studies. You know, you'll find, if you're putting milk thistle, you'll find many, many studies. Same with turmeric and ashwagandha, but not the actual product. The product is the one that has all the studies because of that synergistic blend. It's amazing.
It was a really interesting story how they came up with actually doing all the research on it. They were actually trying to disprove that it didn't work. Is that correct?
Yeah. Madeline, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so what happened was the company started in 2003 in the States, and they sold this product in general healthcare stores. But on the bottle, it says protection against oxidative stress. No one knows what oxidative stress is. So no one really bought the product. And then in 2005, they had an investigative report called ABC Primetime. It's similar to a current affairs. So they actually wanted to debunk the science. So the presenter, the journalist, went in front of the cameras, he swallowed one of the tablets for a whole month. After 2 weeks, his oxidative stress reduced by 45%. And after 4 weeks, it reduced by 70%. And if you go onto Google and you type in what conditions are linked to oxidative stress, you will see it's basically every single condition that we can think of. So when that investigative report aired, so many universities came to the company and said, oh my goodness, we want to do research on your products. And that's where all of those independent peer-reviewed studies happen. Washington State University, Harvard, Ohio, Colorado, all of those universities came and they have done the studies, they have paid for the studies, and then they publish those studies. Even in regards to the skincare, which is a branch of the NRF2 product, the company didn't initially think to bring out a skincare product, but there was one particular university that has done a study investigating the link between oxidative stress and NRF2, particularly in regards to your skin. And they came back with amazing results, and they said, we think that you need to put it into a skincare system. So it's just good to have all that external validation from independent universities.
I think that just blew me away. And, if I'm going to talk to my beloved about anything that's different to what he studied at university as part of his medical degree, he's the first one to say is, show me the studies. And, being able to hop on PubMed and to pull up studies, it's actually quite satisfying to go, well, here we go. Because, that's an important aspect, I think. Now, ladies, I know that I'm looking at the time, and I'm very grateful for how generous you have been, but we've got some ladies wanting to ask some questions. And so, Lauren, do you want to, I'm just wondering if Lauren wants to talk the questions out, yeah.
I'm happy for you just to read them, Karen, because I'm at a cafe, so it might be a bit noisy.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so Lauren is just concerned about her little poor baby. She's got two beautiful little gorgeous boys. If babies are not affected because their bodies are working optimally, what is the effect from a deficient mama? How do they calculate the reduction? So can you ladies see the chat box on the side?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll leave you ladies to answer some of those.
Sure. So if I go, I'll talk about the children, and Madeline, you want to talk about the testing protocol.
Yeah.
So if babies are not affected because their bodies are working optimally, then what is the effect? So absolutely. So if for example, for me to have a child that was so impacted with autism and the environment, onslaught, etc., obviously that meant that I was deficient. So he was as well. It's if the mother is depleted in vitamins, minerals, antioxidant, enzymes, then so will our children. Okay, and that's why I'm really passionate about nutrient therapy and activation. So we do have videos that maybe Taryn can send through to you in regards to hearing from the pediatricians, etc., explaining a little bit further. But I guess the way that I look at it is that it's never too late to start. Even for children, dosages for children, for example, with the NRF2 activator. I'm not sure if I've got, oh yes, so any child over 31 kilos is just the one yellow tablet, and you can crush it down in regards to, put it into supplements, into smoothies, little gummies, or, a bit of peanut butter or whatever you're wanting to do. But that's as big as it is. You can crush that down, or if they can swallow whole. 22 to 31 kilo is half the tablet. 17 to 22 is a quarter of the tablet, and a child that's below that, then that's just something that we would need to discuss. More than happy to chat with you about that. But yeah, so does that answer your question, Lauren?
Yeah, I just wanted to obviously try and fix myself, but also they're already here, so I have to fix them now with everything that's there. And we've been going through similar, trying to fix the diet and different things, but it's hard to convince my husband who wants everything scientific, and I just don't have those answers. So
absolutely, and I totally get that, because my husband was exactly the same. He would poo-poo everything I was doing, but he's my biggest advocate. He's telling everyone about it now, because he's actually, he gave it a go. So yeah, the way I look at it is that you have everything to gain and nothing to lose by starting and trialing this product. The only thing I would say is that you do give it the minimum of that time. So for example, you look young and vibrant, maybe in your 30s, so a minimum of 3 to 4 months for yourself. For your children, it depends on what else is underlying. So if so for me, like I've studied with the Medical Academy of Pediatric Special Needs, and the first thing they said was that any child on the spectrum with any kind of, you know, ADD, ADHD, asthma, allergies, anaphylaxis, they all are born with excessive amounts of free radicals, oxidative stress, and definitely mitochondrial dysfunction. So as soon as we approach that, then that's when the gut health is going to start turning around, because as parents, we all want the best for our babies and we try to do so many things, but it's like you just that vicious cycle, you're not really getting ahead. And it's because we're not reducing the oxidative stress enough. We're not addressing the dysfunctional mitochondria. And seriously, this is why I'm shouting this from the rooftops. If anyone's watching the recording, please go back to the person who shared this video, because yeah, I'm more than happy to talk to anyone free of charge, 15-minute chat about how we get you started. If you've got any questions before we get you started, let us know, because that's what we're here for. That's Taryn and I and Madeline, we are here to serve. We are here to pass our knowledge and our personal experience on, because everybody on the planet is going to benefit from this. Every mammal, even my little fur baby is activated.
Yeah, I can quickly add to that. Although in ideal circumstances, kids have their internal pathways working well, unfortunately, we live in a very toxic world. So kids are not exempt from oxidative stress. The onslaught is just too heavy sometimes to really get rid of that oxidative stress effectively. One of my girls, she's 12, about 2 or 3 years ago, she came home from school almost every single day complaining of headaches. And it got to the extent where I thought, what is happening? Is it an emotional thing? And then I went to Sydney for a conference and I stayed with friends, and they've got Wi-Fi in their home. And I started to develop really severe headaches. And then I started to connect the dots, because for us as a family, we don't have Wi-Fi at home. We're working off LAN cables. So I think the onslaught for kids is just so heavy. If your kids go to school and they are in that environment, or they're using toxic hair products, skincare products, it's a lot for their body. So it's really important to reduce that oxidative stress level. And with my kids, my oldest son, when I started him on the activators, he was homeschooling. And I didn't tell him what the products are doing. I just told him, you need to drink this every single day. And then one day I found him in the pantry and I asked him, what are you doing in the pantry? And he was preparing for an assignment for a test, an exam. And he said he found that when he uses the NRF2, it really helps him to concentrate. So he wants to take an extra NRF2 for that exam. So out of his own, he made that connection. So it really helps kids with being just grounded and focused and sleeping better and feeling better, having more energy, all of that. In regards to the question in relating to how do they calculate the reductions, you can do a T-bars test. Unfortunately, not a lot of pathologists do the T-bars test. What you can also do is you can measure your inflammatory markers. I know some of my clients before have done that before they go onto the activators. Test your inflammatory markers, then use it for a couple of months and then retest your inflammatory markers again.
Yeah. And for me, sorry, Taryn, you just muted. For me, I think the most important thing is just to write everything down, especially for children. Write everything down of what it's like on your darkest day, on their darkest day, when all hell's breaking loose, shit hits the fan, and, you know, write it all down. And then you go back and actually monitor how are things changing. The other thing I just wanted to quickly add in regards to children, there was a Canadian study, I think, back in 2008, where it shows that babies are born with over 200 toxic chemicals in their umbilical cords. Today, you know, like DDT is still being detected in umbilical cords. So it's not something we can avoid. You know, we're breathing it in. The soils are so depleted today. All of these things, like, you know, Madeline was saying, it's adding up. And that's why I personally believe each generation is becoming weaker and weaker. And it's just education. It's surrounding ourselves with like-minded people who can support us and steer us in the right direction for, you know, whatever it could be in regards to the activators or therapists, health professionals. Yeah, it's just having that tribe. And that's why I love what Taryn's doing, because she is the ultimate connector, you know, and she's passionate about education.
Well, I'm passionate about things that I've personally experienced. I am desperate. I'm like, this is amazing. How can I not share this with other people? It wouldn't sit well within me. But Rhonda, like, there were two ways. Like, I know when I originally started, you know, I just didn't want to get involved. But you did explain to me that it's just like an online shopping store, and you get to have a login code so that you can go in and there's no contracts or anything. You're not stuck doing this for, you know, like, you're in there, you can change anything you like. But the advantage about me now being on the auto ship is that it is automatically being shipped out, but I'm also getting it at the cheaper price than the one-off price.
Yes, absolutely. So there's definitely no lock-in contracts. It's a matter of, for example, like you saw the amazing results that you were getting as a customer and decided that you wanted to upgrade as a business partner. So you could then also share this with other people. So then they can also buy wholesale prices directly from your shop front. Absolutely. So starting as a customer, whoever shared this with you, if you're watching the recording, but for example, Taryn would have her own shopfront website link that she can share with you. Also, customers have their own link that they can share with their family and friends, which will also give them a discount, $16.50 off their first order, and then the customer will receive a $15 credit towards their next month's order. So there's many ways to get started. If you're like us and you're really passionate about health and education, you might want to look at this as a business opportunity to share this with other people. If you're only just wanting to start as a customer, that's fine as well. Like Taryn was saying, there's no lock-in contracts. You can cancel anytime you like. You can change your auto ship. Personally, I love the auto ship because it gets sent to me every single month. So I don't have to go chasing it. I don't have to go shopping for it. But like I said, there's no lock-in contracts. You can change it whenever you like.
You know, Rhonda, going back to, because I'm still adjusting to, I am so primed and anti-network marketing. There is something visceral inside of me that makes me want to vomit when you say those words. And so I have been doing healing on myself, but because I have used the product and I cannot stop using it because I have had this experience and the difference between that. So, you know, like, I still feel, you know, like, I think it's just nowadays the way things are going is that people are using affiliate links, and then that's the way where, you know, people are sharing the information. But Madeline, I was really curious because you said at the beginning that they were actually inside a shop, so it wasn't always structured this way.
No, it wasn't. They actually started in 2003 in the shops. And like Rhonda mentioned, this was not an overnight product. This was not a bunch of guys sitting around the table saying, okay, guys, we need to think of a product. We're going to open this business and we're going to make a lot of money. It was that scientist that said, I want to know why people get sick, and I want to help them feel better. It was a 40-year process, 2,500 different blends. And then when that investigative report aired, they had $2.5 million worth of orders coming in overnight, but they couldn't service those orders. They were just a small biotech company. They didn't know anything about marketing. And then they got business analysts in, and those business analysts advised them to go into the network marketing space simply because this is a product with a story. People don't know what oxidative stress is. People like Rhonda, who have walked the road, struggling with her child, helping her child to perform better, optimize his potential. That's a story. For myself, struggling with lots of fatigue issues and brain fog, feeling like I'm here, my brain is in bed for so many years. It's that story that we tell. So everything that we do, I can completely resonate with you, Taryn, in regards to what you're saying, feeling icky about the industry. I want to apologize on behalf of the industry, because unfortunately there are people who are really spammy and want to shove their products down someone else's throat. This is something that is completely different. This is not a Me Too product. You cannot get it in Coles. This is not a supplement. It's completely different. You're on mute.
I keep muting myself. I think that was what the difference was, is that, you know, people have approached me with this product, particularly in the last 5 years, but it was just, I guess you end up having a relationship with someone like with Rhonda. She was really coming at it from a really intelligent aspect. And it was about serving and teaching and educating me in a way that, I mean, I'm an information junkie, so that really appealed for me to be linked with someone who actually was coming from a huge wealth of knowledge and experience and information over all the years. So that did make a difference to me. And I guess it's just, you know, as children, I just remember, you know, being dragged around to Tupperware parties, and you have that kind of concept of that as a child, going, oh, as an adult, I don't want to be doing that. Not that it's a bad thing for other people, but that's my childhood thing that I'm doing healing on. Look, Rhonda, Rhonda's answered to Josanne, and okay, super, we're doing some of the answers. So one of the ladies has private messaged me here, and she's wanting to put her whole family on it. Is there is there a way to do it so do you order 10, you know, if she's got 4 people in her family, does she then order 4 bottles of the same thing? Is there a different way of doing it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways, and we can obviously get you on a chat and like talk the specifics for your particular needs. If it's children, then maybe in regards to the dosage, you may only need 1 bottle for like three children. If it depends on their weight. If it's for children over, you know, the 31 kilo, etc., then maybe it's better off coming in on one of the business packs, so then you get the cheaper rate. Because obviously, and that for me, my Jewish heritage, if there's any way that I can make a savings, that I can sniff out a bargain a mile away. But that's why I immediately came on one of the higher packs, because then I gained all of this extra free product. So I guess it just depends on which way you're looking at it. If you're just wanting to start off as a customer, or if you're thinking, you know, like myself and Madeline, that we just jump straight in on one of the packs because we have, you know, 4 children, and I have my husband and myself and my father-in-law and my dog. So I was just wanting to get the most that I could. So it really just depends. There's lots of different ways. We can share a customer referral link, and you'll get $16.50 off your first order. There's also there's other different ways that we can put it in there.
And I think that's what happened with me, is that once I started, then I looked around at the rest of my family. I'm like, you actually need a bit of help, and you need a bit of help. And wouldn't it be great if the whole family's brains were functioning? You know, that's, yes. So, but ladies, look, it's gone over the hour. I can't believe that you've all stayed this long. That's a testament to how riveting Madeline and Rhonda are with all their information. So with deep gratitude, I'm going to say to you, thank you for joining us on Sunday for another candid chat. We will send that Zoom link out if you to the people who haven't been able to make it, but if you would like to watch it again and catch up on information. If you would like any information, you know, if you wanted to put a 1 in the chat box, if you're wanting me to send you a link, if you want me to get on a call and talk more with you and maybe Rhonda about how to do it, put a 2 in the chat box, and then we can follow up with you. And thank you to all of you for joining me and for trusting me once again with your precious time, and you know, trusting me to deliver some information that I feel will really change how you are able to enjoy 2022 with all the other things that are going on in the world. I really feel like this product will help you and support you in ways that only you can actually experience once you're on it. So yes, thank you so much, Madeline. Thank you, Rhonda, and thank you to everyone else. I'll stay online here and I'll stop the recording until stopping the recording.